Hashim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You're the Commercial and Operations Director at SIXT in Saudi Arabia. Before we talk a little bit more about your specific experience, especially as it relates to Gen AI in the sort of wider automotive and mobility context, let's learn a little bit more about yourself. What did your professional life look like so far?
It's great. I live in a spot where it's an action spot in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where most of the new revolutions and new changes that are taking place as we speak in all sectors, including mobility, transportation. And it's really amazing how every day you hear and see changes happening on the ground. And we are really happy to be a small part of that. Myself, I come from a background where I studied a master's in MBA, and all of my life I studied in business. I started working in technology companies as in sales and business development. I touched on 4 years working in investments and private equity to gain more experience into the finance world. And ever since about 18, 19 years ago, I started working in automotive, rent-a-car, and operating lease businesses. So I managed operations across Saudi Arabia. It's a vast area, as you know, big parts. It consists actually on 3 main cities: the central province, which have the Riyadh capital; Jeddah, Western province, all the pilgrims go there; and then the Eastern province, where most of the oil comes from. So it's also big operations. A lot of expats operate there. But now I'm based in Riyadh and working there. And in the automotive sector, we worked in car rental, car leasing. Then I went and worked in online car trading with companies like Auto Trader, Kazoo, and where have you, this type of companies. We had our own Auto Trader or Auto One in Saudi Arabia. And I worked on online car auctioning. Recently, as you mentioned, I have been working for the past 2 years in SIXT Rent-A-Car, which is German company, but we are a franchise in Saudi Arabia. But we are slightly different, where we operate the rent-a-car business, similar to Germany, and operating lease business, where we cater to corporates and bring them brand new cars on a long-term basis.
That's fascinating. What is it you mostly do on a daily basis in terms of your sort of typical roles and responsibilities at the moment?
So it's mainly customer focused. So we half of my day go to acquisition of new customers, focusing on new deals, how to bring more and more corporate businesses to our portfolio of customers. We bundled a lot of different services for cater to those customers, and that's half of my work. And the other half is just managing existing customers and the deliveries of vehicles to those customers, issues, operational issues internally, and process improvements and operational improvement in the company.
What would you describe the current automotive market or wider mobility service market in Saudi Arabia at the moment?
Well, that's a big question. So on micro perspective, the country has about 11 to 12 million vehicles running. We import 700,000 vehicles a year. And those vehicles, mainly 20% of them are Toyotas. And we have a spectrum of Korean, Chinese, American, German brands. And the way that we import it, mostly it's done to individuals who buy those vehicles. But we also, corporates take and government take about 150 to 100 to 150,000 vehicles a year to operate the corporate side of this. There is a huge transformation taking place in terms of regulations in the country. There is an initiative that went out about 3 years ago, which is the Saudi Green Initiative. The Saudi Green Initiative have promised that we will be a sustainable country, net zero carbon initiative within a certain period. And that have implications, as you would know, on the transportation sector. So the government have mainly on quarter basis or monthly basis sometimes, initiatives to organize the sector better, to introduce more regulations so that the cars are more efficient, more and better operating. But also, we have a huge initiative where the PIF, if you heard about it, is it's a wealth fund. They have created a company called SEER. This company is supposed to produce by 2030 about 300 to 400,000 cars. There is also Lucid. We are a big investor in this American company, where we also they launched a new factory, a plant in Jeddah, and this plant also is going to produce hundreds of thousands of cars. And there is a partnership with Hyundai, who also is building their factory here in Saudi Arabia, a plant here in Saudi Arabia, to produce vehicles, all of which are mainly electric vehicles or hybrid vehicles in the country, and they want to export it. So this will move the country from a net importer to a producer of a wide variety of new technology vehicles, and everybody is excited about it.
You just mentioned technology there. Of course, technology has been, in some respects, transformational for automotive over the past decades at least. What has been the impact of technological advancements on the rental and leasing markets over the past couple of years?
Okay, so we as a company, we have been making a lot of initiatives to move the company and the industry forward in terms of solutions that can be provided to enhance the services and improve the efficiency of the transportation sector. So in our case, we deal with a lot of multinational companies, and we deal with the giga projects, big giga projects, if you heard about NEOM or the Red Sea Global projects. Those have also sustainability goals. 3 years ago, we imported about 130 vehicles for one of those projects, and we did not know how to operate electric vehicles 3 years ago. We have our service center. We brought in our technicians, trained them, and trained ourselves to operate electric vehicles. But also, the mandate was so innovative, where it was mandated from us to have those vehicles operating under car sharing model, because it's only 130 vehicles where I think 2,000 employees or 3,000 employees want to use them, right? So we partnered with a company to bring in this car sharing solution. We catered it significantly for this very unique project and operated in KSA. And of course, you can imagine how those new technology cars, how you would connect them, having IoTs built in those vehicles and connecting them all into one platform. It was a big learning experience, but I can tell you, we can turn on the car, turn it off from the phone. We can book it on the phone. I can give you the details of the more specific details about those vehicles and how they are operating in Neom, 2,000 kilos from here. It was very big step for us and a great learning experience, how to use technology in operation. But also we work with companies, e-commerce companies. Some of the biggest multinationals in the world are our biggest customers here. And we also built in-house for them a system where they can integrate all of the tracking and operating systems we put for them on those vehicles into one platform where they can manage, where they can do we can manage their billings, manage their vehicles, service their vehicles in this unique platform fleet management platform that we created for them. So those are two of the examples that we are working with technology in this sector. And the rent-a-car, I'm not focused on the rent-a-car, but we have been doing a lot. And the government, to be honest, is supporting us a lot in doing this. There is an entity that helps us connect to it. So every individual is connected to the system. Fines are connected directly to the system once you rent a car. So the fine goes directly to the user. It doesn't come to me and then I charge him on the credit card. So to relieve me. Plus, there is a lot that the government supports us with and integrate with our system, where we know who's the good users and who's the bad users, who the people who are not paying. We can get into very fast forward litigation so that we can, in any issues that we have into payment or returning the vehicles, get resolved very fast. But there is many examples. I don't want to bore you.
Yeah, no, it's super fascinating. Of course, a very prominent topic at the moment is sort of the umbrella term of artificial intelligence, and you've probably been using a form of artificial intelligence over a long period with machine learning solutions, etc. How has artificial intelligence in your particular industry evolved over the past couple of years?
So one significant machine learning and artificial intelligence perspectives that I initially got introduced to 4 years ago when I was working with a company that do the car trading business, where it was an auction platform, and the system based on the machine learning module that was created in this company before at the time, were setting up the prices so that it gets the highest value for those vehicles. And it enabled the company to auctions individually, but in multi steps, maybe hundreds of cars in the same day without human intervention. And the system will get you the highest possible value based on the months and months and years of experience of pricing those vehicles. So for me, this was a significant improvement. In the rent-a-car sector, of course, you would know that also the rates that we give the customers is a significant part where machine learning comes into place. It is really, at this point, it's still at a beginner stage, but I think this is going to have a major implications in the future, where we find like Uber, the system automatically change the price based on peak timings. In the rent-a-car, some of the aggregators are doing this, but the rent-a-car companies are at the beginning stage of implementing this concept, and this will have a significant improvement going forward. But also with our customers, when we are talking about fleet management and implementing AI in fleet management, setting up ourselves for all of those technologies in-house, working with our customers, doing them. Our next step and what we are aspiring to is to have more and more artificial intelligence solutions for our customers, where you don't need a lot of analysts to analyze the data, where generative AI can actually find and implement the solutions for you. And you would imagine that there is hundreds of data points that need to be looked at all the time.
Especially on that last point, you mentioned, okay, you would like to improve your customer's experience and you would like to deploy more artificial intelligence solutions. How do you do that? Do you develop this capability internally? Do you partner with external partners? How do you approach the development of these solutions?
For my side, I'm a big believer that you need to develop those solutions internally. Of course, you can work with third-party experts in specific areas, but the solution as a whole need to be initiated from the top management downward. And what I mean here is not about authoritarian type of thing, but I want that big organizations usually the top management doesn't get involved, and this is a problem with the big organization, into the details of the solutions and IT solutions implemented. So I'm a big believer that especially at the early stage and implementation stage, so the top management need to be involved at the smallest details, so the process is streamlined and improved. And to be honest, Danny, the input of top management into streamlining and improving the operation is very important and substantial to the whole process. And this is what makes an organization successful in implementing IT solutions or AI solutions compared to others.
You mentioned top management commitment and involvement as a potential success factor. Are there any other factors that organizations should be aware of to make the wide deployment and scaling of these solutions a success, sort of beyond the top management component? So
another factor which is extremely important is that what does the customer need, right? So you need, I saw this so many times. You come and say, okay, somebody's implementing this software, it works, right? And you come and implement it, doesn't work. It always have this issue. So what works in a different country does not mean that it works for you. What works for your competitor does not mean that it works for you. So all the time, you need at every single step, look at what the customer wants. How would what you are doing benefit the customer? Is this something that is nice to have, or this is something that would benefit the customer directly and impact your bottom line? So I believe that other than the commitment of the top management, having this, looking at the customer and what he wants and how he can benefit from anything that you are doing in terms of technology implementations, is an integral part of this success or successful implementations.
Are there any particular practical guidance you could share for that? What I see a lot is with organizations, they ask customers about what they would potentially like, and then customers say, yes, that would be a lovely feature, but then when they actually deploy a solution, they either don't pay for it or don't really use it. Do you have any, especially in this sort of very digital rental and leasing business, have you seen any really good examples of customer feedback, customer sensing and integrating this into your development loops?
So there is maybe two examples. One is, of course, in our customer base, there is several things that he's looking for. For example, speed of delivery, speed of servicing his vehicle, speed of servicing him, right? Returning calls. So those are so speed is maybe a keyword for him, and of course there is the reliability and the accuracy of doing the work for him. So when we look at the speed of delivery, for example, so it's a process, right? It's not about the technology as much as the process that we created. When we came here 2 years ago, there was so many processes at the time, which is to legacy processes. So the team looked at every single detail. We mapped it out, so many processes, and we looked at what technology can be implemented in order for us to speed up the whole thing. And you cannot imagine the amount of processes that we deleted or we streamlined through just implemented simple technologies. This impacted directly the customer, because instead of taking weeks for us to deliver his vehicles, now it goes down to days, and we have aggressive targets to even take it less than that. There is issues that comes up where it's opportunistic, where a customer might want a solution that is, for example, when a customer came and said, "I want a car sharing model," so we worked pre-tender for him with him and afterwards, and those usually pretty risky solutions that we provide, right? Because it impacts your reputation if it doesn't work and you don't have expertise in it. However, the upside is that once implemented and successful, you have gained a lot of experience doing it, and you can multiply it to other customers. So usually what we see is if we don't implement a new solutions asked by customer unless we have a commitment for them for this implementation, and a commitment internally that we can implement and do those solutions for the customer. And this is how we go about it.
One of the recent technological advancements in the artificial intelligence space is, of course, generative artificial intelligence. We've seen tools like ChatGPT from OpenAI and similar. What do you think is the impact of this particular technology on your industry?
So the impact, I see it long term in several areas. One, it will be immediate impact on operation efficiency, and will minimize a lot of human intervention in the operation itself from a procurement perspective. And then if you look at the maintenance, which is a huge part of our operations, you can imagine thousands of cars operating around the kingdom, accidents, breakdowns, servicing. And generative AI can really help a lot in this, reducing accidents, maintaining the vehicles in good better conditions, and have, of course, more sustainability impact on the operations. Plus, we can offer more solutions to our customers, especially the customers who are working in logistics and supply chain and retail, in order for us to improve their operations, having vehicles working more efficiently, having better routes, having more control on drivers. All of those features will have significant improvements with generative AI. But I can tell you that it's really at the moment at a very beginner stage. I'm yet to see solutions that have this impact, but we see it happening.
What do you think the sort of near future for generative AI will look like, potentially even in Saudi Arabia more widely? Do you feel like this is more of a, I guess, fad at the moment that is sort of hyped up and will sort of calm down a little bit, or do you really see this as sort of the next transformative technology that will completely disrupt the value chain?
So I see in terms of technology in KSA, there is a lot of developments that are taking place with startups and with government initiatives that, of course, together can have this big impact in the transportation sector in general. We see it happening. I totally understand that the hype of AI is winding down, but I do not think that, because it was over-exaggerated, but I do not think that the development stops. On the contrary, I see every technology company working aggressively to provide new solutions. And I really see within the next couple of years, there will be a lot of solutions in the automotive or in different sectors that will be based on generative AI. And we are really looking forward to this.
Final question from my side. If you imagine talking to a senior leader in the wider automotive ecosystem, and you would have to provide him or her your top 3 recommendations to capitalize on generative artificial intelligence, Gen AI, over the coming years, what would be your top 3 recommendations be?
One would be having internal resources to develop the capabilities. Second, to get involved and get involved deeply into the process and operations of developing those solutions, not just buying off-the-shelf product. Third, to have clear understanding and better, and maybe this may be the most important part, is to keep learning about generative AI. And because it's a new topic, people are learning every day. There is so many things that are developing. The government is investing heavily in AI, in developing their own solutions. So it's a topic that needs to be closely watched and closely managed. And any organization leader needs to direct and work with his team from a perspective of knowledgeable information. So those would be the 3 main advices that I would give to any industry leader.
It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Hashim.
Thank you.